Good morning. I'm at my first call of the day, which is AC maintenance as well as a full drain pan, emergency pan. I'm at the truck. I'm going to pull out my Milwaukee shop vac, get a good battery in it, and show you what's going on. Got the high output M18 and some pan treatment. Throw that in there. Okay, here's our unit. Open return, pulls from the basement, clean filter. Old door, I believe it's an R22 system, if I'm correct. R22 right there. I've been here a few times, but you can see condensate drain pan filled up all the way to the top towards that backside. Now I could blow it out, but typically what I like to do to pull all the sludge out rather than to blow it in, I'll pull out the drain, which in this case goes to a condensate pump, and I'll throw my shop vac on the end of it. Just see if I can keep the camera standing up here. I guess not. But right here kind of has a view. It's already starting to drip a little, but getting some really solid flow, so I slipped it back into the pump. Bring this over here. And here's our drain pan, and you can see it's slowly going down. And I'm going to clean out this sludge buildup from inside of here as well. Okay, I vacuumed up all the water from the emergency pan as well as from the primary pan, and I cleaned up as much of that sludge as possible. I'm not a cleaning service, I'm not going to spend hours doing that, but here I have the Viper pen drain treatment that's by Refrigerant Technologies, and if you look over at the directions, it tells you blowout drain line if clogged, no waiting required, no rinsing required, spray entire pan, and bottom rows of evaporator coil with gel. So get our pan sprayed, just like a light coating to try to get it all covered, and the bottom row on that coil. I'll flush it through with some water to make sure it drains well. Okay, so got that drain nice and clean, nice and treated. And what I did was I hooked up my vacuum to the drain while flushing water through, so it's pulling at a high force and really cleaning out the sides and the inside of that line, while also pulling and coating that line with the drain pan treatment. So shouldn't have any clogs for a while. Okay, so we're at our second floor unit now, which is up in like a little attic space, but same thing. Even though this one's not clogged, I'm going to be vacuuming out the pan, and I'll vacuum through that drain line just to be safe and prevent it from happening, and we'll do the treatment as well. And if you take a look at the coil, you can see it's a little dirty, but it doesn't look too bad. It actually looks like what looks like dirty spots may be the coil starting to deteriorate because of age. But I'll get to cleaning this one and making sure that drain line's clear. Okay, so I just sprayed the treatment, and it's interesting. This stuff was a lot more stuck on there. I'm not going to kill myself getting this as clean as possible. I know that this drain treatment will keep it draining fine, and it'll prevent new sludge from growing. I think this is also due in part to the construction he's having going on lately, and a lot of that dust is just kind of building up and sticking onto that pan. But This one should be good to go for a while. Button it back up, we'll test that capacitor too, and take a look at the outdoor units. So, walking to the customer's house, the customer stopped me to show me something really cool. With his windows, he has this control right here, and if I say, Alexa, turn off the window, the windows turn off. I think that's one of the coolest things I've seen ever. Here are our outdoor units. Of course, they're smack up against the house. They don't sound absolutely fantastic, but they're running. This side's a little bit dirty. Let's see. This side, a little bit dirty. Let's check this far side. Yeah, there's a little bit of buildup. I mean, not the worst I've ever seen, but if he'd grant me permission, I would love to clean these units out. I walked in and told him that I'd like to clean the outdoor units. He said, go ahead. So I'm gonna get everything set up. Due to the fact that it's a microchannel foil, I won't be using the chemical that I like because that's too aggressive. What I'll be using is the Viper Maximum Strength Venom Pack by Refrigerant Technologies, microchannel aluminum safe. So it's not the greatest. It's definitely doesn't work as well. And I believe it has like a higher dilution ratio, but I'll get this all set up. I'm not gonna do a complete tear apart because they're not dirty enough for that, but I'm gonna give them a nice coil cleaning. So I got my chemical in my sprayer diluted properly, and if these units were dirtier, I usually would be taking off the panels as well as taking off that plastic mesh back there, but they're not too bad. Getting it before it gets too bad, so I'll give them a good rinse, I'll hit them with the coil, and then I'll spray them out and make sure that we get as much debris off as possible. Okay, got them both thoroughly rinsed. Did this one first, then put the chemical, then rinsed this one, then did the chemical. And I cleaned out my cleaner, my sprayer, diluter, foam gun, but now I'm just letting it sit for a few minutes before I blow it all out to try to let it break down as much as possible. Okay, so I gave them a good rinse. I just plugged in the disconnects. I'm gonna let them run for some time to let not only the pressure stabilize, but to also make sure that that coil's dry when I check my pressure. And I believe both of them have known leaks, unknown locations, but known leaks. So check the pressure, see how he's doing. A little bit concerned about the downstairs one. May possibly be freezing, and that's why there was so much water in that pan, but we gotta wait and see. Okay, so I said R22, and I was here last year. I don't know why I said that. It is 410, but still waiting for our pressures to sort of stabilize, but it doesn't look like we're gonna be anywhere near low on this one. Pressures are actually a little bit weird, a pretty high superheat, but we still have to wait for the, or a pretty low superheat. We still have to wait for the coils to be completely dry regardless. I think there may be actually an airflow issue in the unit downstairs due to the low temperature, low pressure. So might have to take a look at that and see what's going on. Okay, so a quick way to figure out airflow is with a pretty simple formula, and that's velocity times area is CFM. I know this is 14 inches, so if you could do the math, but if you look up a 14-inch circle, you get 153 square inches. So 153 divided by 144, because that's 12 times 12, and that's square inches, and we're dividing it by 12 squared to get it in feet, and that's 1 foot and 6 inches of free area. So with that, you can then get your velocity reading. Now I'm going to do 4 measurements, 1 in each corner. So we got 866 plus, do another one right here, and we get 846, 826. I'm gonna go with the 846 plus that, which is gonna be upside down, but 925, 940, 944. We'll go with 944 plus 9, another 9, bounce it around. We'll go with 900 even on that. We're just getting a rough idea, and I'll actually do one more measurement, and I'll just divide all those by 5 to get a median number. And right in the center we got 807. 807 divided by 5, you get, and I did that wrong. That's a pain. But I'll do that math again and we'll get CFM. So our average number is 907. We'll multiply that by the 1.06, and that's 961 CFM. Now that's a rough number, but if we take a look at our unit, which is a 3-ton, that's really not enough airflow for it. Now, he recently just got these new filters, so what I'm gonna do is pop it out, see how much of a difference we get on our CFM, and take a look at that coil. So there's that coil in there. Not awful, not terrible. I would like to spray some cleaner on it, but we'll see what he wants to do. You can already feel there's much more airflow here. And if I put my thing on, we see we got 1,000 first shot. Lower number here, 940. Up here, up in the 8, 9s. Over here, 9s, and dead center in the 1000s. So it did improve the airflow fairly significantly, but we'll see how our pressures are doing outside. And he was concerned about one room not getting airflow. Here's why. Duct is completely crushed. We'll see what he wants to do about that, but you're not going to get airflow when it's completely crushed and no air could go through it. So there's his issue on that one. So stupid me, I was on the wrong system inside, but still it's going to be the same thing. I'll repeat that over. We have this system out here now. This is for that first floor, and we got a high superheat, a high-ish superheat, fairly low subcooling. So it looks like, again, this year he is going to need a little bit of 410 refrigerant. But we'll see what happens. We'll let it run for a little bit longer. I don't like to just dump refrigerant in. I like to only have to do it if it's necessary, but it's looking like he could use a little bit here. Okay, so I just really heavily sprayed down both coils with this evaporator foam. It's going to be loud, but I'll show you. And that's going to self-rinse over time, so that should help improving with the airflow, but we do have some small returns here. We have a 16-inch here. This system is, I believe, nope, it's also a 3-ton. So it's a tight return, but it is what it is. Here's our filter up here. Not the cleanest, but I'm also gonna recommend that he get the thinner style filters, because these are pretty restrictive on his systems. Okay, I checked power, contactors, capacitors, but I'm not thrilled with the pressure on the first floor system, as far as having a fairly high to decent superheat, but a low subcooling, and our evaporator temperature is slowly starting to go down. I had to add a few pounds of refrigerant last season. He's gonna go ahead with adding whatever I need to add here. So I grabbed my 410, my scale, and I'll get ready to start charging it. Okay, so here are my current pressures. I have my scale on and zeroed out. This is how I've been charging lately. I have my tank, but I just use the one hose. I purge it of air. I hook it up to this Apion multi-connector here, which I believe they designed specifically for charging with probes. and I have this lever here to throttle adding the refrigerant in. So this works out really nice. I just hook it up, I spritz that Schrader core in to let any air out, and I spritz this open as I connect it to let any air out right here. But take a look at our pressures and slowly add. Start with 1/2 pound. See how that does. And we'll take it from there. Just watch the pressures as they go up and down and stabilize. And once I get to like a higher subcooling and a higher evaporator temperature with a reasonable superheat, I'll leave it be. Okay, we're at 1.5 pounds-ish, a little bit lower so far. And our subcooling has come up a good amount. Our superheat's moving back and forth a little as it stabilizes. It was going real low and then came back up high, and seems to sort of be hovering around this 6 to 7 area. But I'm happy with the subcooling. We'll just see how it goes. May end up adding a little bit more, but I think you should be okay. Okay, so I ended that off at about 1.5 pounds. Bumped it up a tiny bit. I just wanted to show you how I disconnect. I closed my tank, opened up my valve to let all the liquid refrigerant out to minimize the loss. So whatever's in here will be vapor now. Take this off and take off our probe. I always cover these immediately, that way not getting any contaminants in them, or minimizing the contaminants that we get in them. And then pop this off. Nice and quick, minimize the loss. And then we can throw our brass caps on and take off our high side port. Okay, so I'm at that crushed duct right behind me. He doesn't care how it looks, so I just grabbed some things. I'm gonna try to do it neatly, but try to strap that up and give him more airflow into that room. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want to cut it on both ends, and I have my Milwaukee snip so I can snip the wire that's running along the inside, but I pulled it through, end up pulling it over a pipe where there's plenty of room, and it kind of holds it nicely in place. That way I don't have to spend so much time trying to secure it. But got a rough idea on where I needed to cut there, so I cut it, and all I did to connect was I slipped one of the plastic hoses into the other, taped that nice and securely, and then taped the other silver lining nice and securely over that, making sure that the insulation is pulled over so it doesn't start to condensate or condense, and so that the heat isn't pulled in from the space and it cools better. But this was nice and simple, and I was happy in the end. It did actually turn out to be a lot better looking than it was before, and I was able to get that duct pulled a little bit tighter so there was less slack just hanging down there in the basement. And you could see the tape here I'm using. It is the mastic tape. I love the way the mastic tape sticks, and then having that metal in there that you can use to kind of crimp against the plastic holds it in nice and tight. I like to try to use the tape that's specifically designed for the flex duct, but I didn't have any on me. I usually do. The mastic tape worked out just fine, and it got the job done. I think it may hold it a little bit more secure than the specifically designed plastic duct tape would have held it. And again, just using the mastic tape, eyeballed the length. I tear the metal with my finger and just bite the adhesive to get that rip going. But I always try to use just one strip to minimize any leakage and to keep it looking nice and neat. So thankfully I was able to get this done with one nice and neat strip, crimp it a little bit, and It's holding it in there nice and securely. Okay, so we got a nice wide bend, goes over. This isn't crushing it, it's totally okay. It's just a quick little fix, and now we can get rid of this trash. That's definitely crushing it. And you could take a look in there, you could see it's flattened, and it was worse when it was in there. And it had a nice tight bend there, so you should be a lot better now. Okay, so I finished up with that one. He's a super, super nice customer. I've seen him multiple times, and I like him a lot. But I'm on my way now to my next call. We got a lot done on that call. We got both condensers cleaned, both evaporators cleaned, somewhat cleaned on the evaporators, hands treated, drain lines freed, a little bit of refrigerant added to get them cooling well. Typically we come when there's a problem, but Mike talked to him this year, so we came preventatively, make sure he stays cooling for the rest of the summer and doesn't have any issues, and if he does, he's prepared. I told him everything that was going on, recommended that he get cheaper filters because those new filters that he just got are too restrictive on the system. It's not the best ductwork in the world, so he needs all the airflow that he can get. But it is what it is. He's cooling, not super efficiently, but it works, and that's what matters to him. So hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. Like it if you liked it. Comment any advice or criticisms and any feedback, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.